Engineering is a central part of our economy, driving all Britain's manufacturing, construction and R&D sectors. Engineers bring us new and better products using more advanced technologies and produced faster and more efficiently than ever before. Everything in our lives was first created by an engineer. Over the next half hour, we'll be discussing the future of engineering in the UK with some of our leading design and production companies.
So Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, intelligent manufacturing, it has a wealth of names. It's something that's making sure that we have the flexibility within our manufacturers. It's making sure that you're gathering the right amount of data and that large amount of data and using it in a functioning way. Have you got the right skills of people to interpret it, and have you got the right markets to distribute that knowledge and that information in, and are you making the products for the right market? It's really turning the manufacturing sector into a global market more so than it is now.
People are talking increasingly about Industry 4.0, which is the buzzword for the sort of interconnectedness of things. Many people are talking about the Internet of Things, which is how our consumer life is becoming increasingly interconnected, and how gadgets and devices will consistently talk to each other. That's going to happen in manufacturing as well. And we've got to design that so that we can do it proactively, not reactively. If you think about many of our successes, we have furniture, kitchenware, some of our luxury goods, automotive. Many of these manufacturing industries for which Britain is famous have design at the very heart and would not be as successful if it wasn't the contribution that design made.
Businesses are usually quite reticent in working together or figuring out best practices, looking at their business models, learning from their peers or competitors. That needs to be improved a lot. And on the policy side of things, there's a big problem in that government tends to focus on sectors specifically. And that's an advantage because you can develop very in-depth analyses and regulations and policies for a particular sector. But if you're looking at the industrial system, the economic system as a whole, it has to cut across sectors. There are issues that are not just common to steel, for example, or water on the environmental side. But all the different sectors should be working together, and all the different government departments should be working together in order to address these issues.
Running up to the election, we wanted across all parties, we wanted to have a sensible sense of direction for the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector is down below 10% in our country in terms of what percentage of people working in, but it's a very important one for two reasons. One, that we depend very much on what we sell abroad for creating the wealth of this country, but we also, manufacturing pays well. So we have this sector that is much smaller than it used to be, not because it's failed, but in some ways because it's succeeded.
As an industry in the UK, obviously engineering has gone down considerably. Speaking quite candidly, as a chartered production engineer by profession, sitting in a building which actually was part of a complex which employed 8,000 people over 30 acres on this side of the River Aire, and I worked in this 40 years ago and now it's all gone, I find it quite disappointing. If we want to sustain our engineering, we need to take back our manufacturing and not have it outsourced as we do today.
I think manufacturing is vital to any economy, and I would go so far as to say it's the bedrock of an economy. If you look at manufacturing and the broad range of jobs that it employs across our industry, you have finance, you have manufacturing, you have engineering, you have marketing, you have sales. The whole gamut of employment is here in a manufacturing base. The manufacturing industry in this country is a mixed bag. Some parts of the industry are excelling, others are declining. The strength of Essentra is we manufacture a very broad range of products, and so our manufacturing is on the up.
Servitization is more than just an upcoming trend, it's something that's happening already, and there are a lot of examples of that. So that you're not just making a product, selling it, and then forgetting about it. There's much more involvement with the consumer. So this is the era of mass customization, if you will, where manufacturing companies will consult their potential buyers on what they want. They'll be able to do small production batches, and then they're going to maintain that relationship with their customer afterwards. They'll be able to monitor the product to make sure it's functioning properly. They'll be able to anticipate if there's a breakdown and then have it repaired before it actually becomes a productivity problem.
Engineering never stands still. Across the world, development is happening constantly. Just keeping pace with the changing face of industry can be a major challenge. The most successful engineers lead instead of follow, finding new techniques and approaches to stay ahead.
Design is a huge aid to innovation. It's helping to breed innovation, to get companies to develop new ideas and new approaches. It can create a really different culture within an organisation, and importantly it can get products and services to market much more quickly.
With innovation in British industry is perhaps one of the most essential things going forward. That innovation will always give you automation into process. That automation has got to be fit for purpose and what the product needs to be, and we as a company continue to invest in automation and also invest in the skills for those people who operate in that automation to bring the best out of the equipment we invest the money in. By doing that, we will get products out of high quality, on time, but at the same time at a competitive rate. The innovations we need to deliver have got to be new to the market. They've got to be cost effective. They've got to be safe to the environment. They have to bring benefit to the client. They have to be friendly to the user, and they have to make a difference.
We're always investing in new equipment in the factory, but also in our laboratories and in our staff. We're training people all the time, working towards new technology, and we're also fortunate to be able to work with the major raw material suppliers. So if they come up with any new ideas or new products or new polymers and things, we work with them. It's the basic starting point, the polymers are there, and then really we use our experience to come up with whatever is required on the adhesive side. The customer might want a product which gives him, say, 30 minutes open time. The worker's got 30 minutes to make the bond, to somebody who literally wants like 2 minutes, really rapid bonds and things like that.
When you're looking at safety systems, so when you're looking at inflatable life raft systems, semi-rigid inflatable boats, they still have, by their application, they still have to use cross-linked solvent-borne systems. And you can't really get, in those marketplaces, there aren't really viable alternatives for solvent-free technologies yet.
Innovation and technologies for the future is really key. A few examples could be developments of materials. So technologies such as we're seeing a growth in composites, but also developments of materials such as graphene. The reason why these are such crucial innovations that we need to share and learn about is that not only are they making sure that we're working with a small finite amount of resources, but that we can actually mass produce them. So it's one thing developing a material or a technology as a prototype, but actually scaling it up to be used in a mass production market is a very different issue.
Everything we make typically is customised to a brand owner. If I take today as an example, in our factory here in Newport, you'll see we make a lot of labels. Those labels are being used in the medical industry. And if you think about it as a user of that product, all the dosage information when you use a medicine or a drug is contained upon that label. So if you look about customization at scale, that's a very good reason for doing it. So what we're actually printing here today is vital for the end user's satisfaction from the product.
Metal finishing machinery, there has been some advances, particularly in terms of curing, rather than most other aspects of it. We have a 6 metre long near infrared oven. This type of process, near infrared curing, is perhaps the most modern, and you won't find it in many industries, which we are now installing ours. This uses perhaps 25% of the energy requirement, and also the actual piece of equipment is probably a third the length of the other piece of equipment that we use, which uses more energy to cure. So in energy reduction, there has been advancements. In the use of light, like such as near infrared, rather than direct convection heat, we've also seen improvements. Other than some immersion treatments, which are electrostatic, which are coming on stream, which are still relatively new, the process has remained much the same since it was developed by the Krupp's industry in 1890.
Automation is extremely important to British industry. Companies are looking at making things more efficiently, more effectively, and the repeatability of the components that they're making is critical in a lot of areas. Nature tells us that when a human's performing a task, there's going to be errors in the process. Automation is a big part of our business. We want to drive forward. It's something that we're good at. We can take an idea, turn it into a concept, and we can work with the companies that we're selling to improve their processes, to grow their business, which in turn I would hope would be growing our business as well.
No matter how advanced manufacturing becomes, the people behind the machines will always remain a critical part of the industry. A highly skilled and motivated workforce leads directly to better quality, as well as to new ideas that can improve your efficiency. Investing in your staff should be as high a priority as investing in machinery.
Everything we do is reliant on people. No matter what kind of automation you have or what kind of technology you have, that technology has to be supported by people. And the more high tech we get, the more higher skill set we need. So we continue to invest in skills. We liaise very closely with universities. We have a very, very powerful graduate development program. And so we see that our future is entirely based upon our skills.
The most important part of a manufacturing process in today's modern industry is the people you employ. Quality staff is absolutely paramount. Ensuring you have young people joining the business, good apprenticeship schemes, give them good knowledge and good education. Invest in the people and they will repay you. But at the same time maintaining those skills and disciplines in the older working group of people who are perhaps moving to retirement, so they willingly share that with the up and coming engineers of the future. Make sure that you have a good place to work and it's clean, it's safe and it's tidy and it's an enjoyable place to work. You spend most of your life in the working environment. It's essential that your staff can enjoy that working discipline the best they can. The more they enjoy working with you, the more they will give you and the better your business will be. And here at Garrandale, that has been the ethos since I've joined this company, that this has got to be a fun place to work. And we have new blood coming in the business every year to ensure there's a good base of skills and standards for the future of the company.
One thing that I saw when I came to Garrandale a year ago was an ageing workforce in a lot of, especially the production areas. One of the very first things I did was started looking at apprentice schemes. This is in conjunction with local universities, local colleges, as well as Toyota and companies so forth. We need apprentices into the business to be the next stage of our strategy. We need 5 and 10 years going forward these people to be skilled people making products, not only making products but the infrastructure as well, the support processes, the project management, the design, everything. I will be looking at driving forward with apprentices year on year.
The problem is the truth, young people would not consider an engineering career. There is no incentive for them to look at that, unfortunately. As an engineer, as I stated previously, a chartered production engineer, I liked engineering and wanted to be engineering. I wanted to make things. I enjoy being part of aerospace industry. I enjoy being part of railway industries. I enjoy being part of lots of power transmission industries. However, the funding to educate people in those areas has gone. The businesses have gone. So it's difficult to get young people to look at something that's going to provide an income. You can earn £500,000 as senior partner in Leeds. You won't earn £500,000 in engineering doing anything. So it's an educational thing. Realistically, we have recruited our staff from the broadest range believable. We have probably people from every race and creed around the world in this company. It wasn't intentionally to go out and be the most diversified company on, it's just something that happened. And actually taking the view that actually we are a specialised industry, so we do have to do a lot of our in-house training. We benefit from a wealth of getting people from different parts of the world who actually are very experienced, perhaps electricians, or they've been in engineering or plumbers. These people are usually of an attitude of mind which you can train them in our more specialised work that we do on site.
A major challenge in the engineering sector is recruitment. Today, fewer young people than ever are pursuing relevant qualifications to work in industry, leading to a shortage of skilled workers. Many employers are taking matters into their own hands, creating training programs to help inspire the next generation of engineers.
Skills is a real issue for the engineering community. Over the past 40 years we've seen a gradual decline in the number of engineering students coming through the talent pool. Some research conducted by the Warwick Institute estimated that we need around 1.6 million more engineers between 2012 and 2022 if you take together the current supply, so anyone who is becoming a technician, is on an apprenticeship scheme or is going through higher education, that pool number is actually only around 100,000 a year. So we have a shortfall at the end of the decade of 300,000, so we need to address where we're going to get those talented engineers from. Linking industry with education providers is a really fundamental part to address the skills gap. By getting engineers involved in schools, whether it be on the boards, to discuss how the education system goes, getting engineering as a subject in the classroom is a real crucial factor. One of the things that the institution is involved in is a teachers' industrial placement scheme. This is where we are encouraging teachers to go into industry and learn how engineering companies work. This isn't just about learning about the production side of the business or the design side, but also the finance and the marketing side. So they get to have a fully understanding of how an engineering firm works so that they can encourage those students to go into engineering as a profession.
We specialise in manufacturing adhesives, and we do it all in-house. We train our own people, we get graduates, like we just recently started a graduate with a PhD from one of the local universities, and he's just going through all our training, in-house training, and hopefully one day he'll be an expert on adhesives. Yeah.
We have to, as a country, keep on investing really at the sharp end of the technology, and you only get that, by working closely with the people that are innovators. I chair the Engineering Science Research Council's committee on sustainable production, sustainable manufacturing worldwide, more sustainable. We are going to endanger the planet. And so, on the one hand, we've got loads of innovation worldwide. We've got the Institute of Manufacturing in Cambridge and Imperial in London and up and down the country, Huddersfield University, all part of this innovation process, but working closely with employers. And that really is the future. I think there is a groundswell of change in universities. There is more and more a cry from employers for students, graduates coming out with more practical skills, more knowledge of what the workplace is going to be, and skills that are complementary to that. So the notion that rather than doing a very basic arts or social science degree, a lot of employers now want people to have much more of a core that make them highly employable in the manufacturing sector and outside.
We're engaged with all the colleges of learning in the area, let alone supporting them in their apprenticeship schemes, looking at graduates coming out to go in employment, but also engage with local universities with projects for development and innovation. Likewise, we also support the universities with equipment, and we also support universities and places of learning with modern equipment to ensure that the people who have been trained there are using equipment to the highest and modern standards So when they go into the marketplace, they understand the equipment and the technologies they'll have to work with to earn their living.
We use a lot of agencies to get the staff. Industry at the moment within the UK, from my point of view, it seems that the agencies have the core amount of skills and talent when we're looking for new staff. We do have a lot of word of mouth, so we have people, a friend of a friend or a family member, who we will often receive CVs from, and we will interview and we will employ people. We also advertise in the local press and media.
Essentra has a very active graduate development program where every year we actively seek graduates in all fields of our business and manufacturing in particular. And in sites like this we are able to attract the very best graduates who want a career in a company that can take them, that can give them global opportunities. And indeed we have on this site, our current site manager has come from one of our French facilities. He came through our graduate development program. Recently one of our graduates we sent out to Malaysia on a 2-year assignment. So we have a fantastic opportunity for graduates within our company.
Heavy industry continues to require a substantial power investment to operate, and reducing energy use in engineering is a major challenge. More efficient designs and machines are expensive and may take years to realize substantial savings, which has slowed adoption.
Some of the bigger companies now are going more and more with the environmental options of water-based adhesives. Well, we're doing a lot more water-based material now. We've done using safe solvents and all that sort of, a lot of work's been done in the laboratories. When the regulations came out where certain solvents like toluene cannot be used for products that are sold to the general public, we did a lot of work in the laboratories to replace toluene with other solvents which are acceptable. We're continuously doing things to make sure the products are safe.
We have done considerable work in reducing our environmental impact. It is at the forefront of what we do. Personally, and in terms of my co-director's son, we have quite strong views about not wanting to contaminate the world. So we have invested, and it's necessary through legislation, but irrespective of that, we were first galvanising company in the UK to actually register under the latest environmental regulations, which was 10 years ago. So we did that before anybody else. That's where we put it. A lot can be reduced. What the difficulty is actually being able to actually work in conjunction with perhaps the energy providers to achieve this. We have a very high energy usage on this site. However, if you consider that our energy usage, we have reduced by about 30% since we've been in business in the last 6 years. We're doing fairly well at it ourselves. We are recycling all our waste products from this site. Some we do in-house treatments, taking some of our residues, which would be classed as contaminant waste, back into solid metal, be it lead, be it zinc, and also the residue powder being able to go straight to chemical companies which will use them in such products as Sudocrem, which is a baby cream for babies' bottoms, which uses zinc chlorides. We recycle waste wire and everything. There's a limit to what you can do, but if we can trade it from this site, we do it. We do. Basically, if people consider what's going to be the biggest thing impacting on the world today, it's not the financial system anymore, it's when environmental problems occur. So if people aren't concerned about where the future lies, whether it's small-scale toxic poisoning or whether it's large-scale rifts throughout the world, volcanoes going out, whatever, we've got to think about what's happening now. And legally, you'll get put out of business as well. So the ones who don't want to play, they will go. It is important to offer services like collection and delivery, particularly from a customer's perspective, and indeed site deliveries. For this reason, we run a fleet of heavy goods vehicles. It's put into the cost. It is a consideration, and increasingly it's getting difficult to transport large vehicle loads around some parts of the UK. So leaving it to people who are perhaps doing it on a regular basis, and more specialists like ourselves, very much suits our customers.
Sustainability is a really interesting one. I think in the same way that often people think that design is something that you tack on to the end of a process, I have a horrible feeling that too many people think, let's develop a product and design a product, now let's think about how we make it sustainable. You need to think about sustainability from that first instance you think about designing something new. Design can play a huge role in building sustainability in from the very get-go.
Certain solvents which you could use sort of 20, 25 years ago, we don't use now. So we really do follow all the material safety regulations, the REACH regulations. So we only use the materials that are really suitable for the environment or acceptable by the authorities. Any material that needs recycling or any sort of reject material, we use licensed people, environmental registered, to take the material away and be really mindful of how they're going to recycle it. And the water-based materials, yes, it's just water-based, but it still has to be recycled.
In terms of a sustainable economy, this is at the heart of what engineers do. In fact, it's a key competency that we require to become a professionally chartered engineer. In the world, we only have a finite amount of resources, and it's about making sure that we're using them in the right way. In terms of the opportunities, there are a number of different ones. We have a real rise in different technologies at the moment. So if you look at these, this can be anything from additive manufacturing or 3D printing to the rise of automation within manufacturers. But this also in turn leads to barriers. So how companies can implement these technologies, how they have that long-term investment, which can actually be a real issue for some of the smaller businesses out there. When we make sure that we start adopting these technologies, it's critical that the manufacturers have a good pool of talent available to them to make sure they have the right skills to implement the technology.